So today I'm working on the Lamborghini Miura P400 SV in 1/24th scale from Hasegawa. Firstly, there's some mould seams around the front of the bonnet section, roof line, things like that. They're not too bad, but it is important to sand them down. Unfortunately, this is moulded in red, which, as I want to paint it green, it needs to be very well primed. There's a few seams around the back as well, but some of them are incorporated into the body. Now, if you want to add things like the wing mirrors and the roof mounted aerial, remember to drill those out now. I did find that these needed to be opened up a little bit more later on, but this gave me an opportunity to sand them flat on the outside as best as possible. A rounded file is really useful for doing this kind of job. There are these vents which need to go at the bottom just underneath the door here. As these are in black, it's important to add them here to make sure that the primer coats them. These sections below the door need to be a different colour. The box art has them gold, but I'm going to be doing them in silver. Snipping away these supports in these bonnet vents. Important to then sand these flat afterwards. So I'm using this Kaleido primer. It's kind of light grey, ready thinned, and it went through the airbrush really nicely. After 3 coats, it gave a really even covering, and yeah, really pleased with it, as you can see. After leaving that to cure for about an hour, I then went on to this Verde green from Kaleido as well. This is actually a Lamborghini Miura paint, and here is how it looked afterwards. This had about 5 coats. Kaleido Colourworks is Gaahleri's premium sub-brand of water-based paints, using rapid air technology designed for creators who demand precision without compromising on sustainability. You can get 10% off your next order using the code BUILDING010 at gaahleri.com. And Kaleido Colourworks offers high-performance eco-certified paints that deliver a lacquer-like finish while being safe, non-toxic and environmentally responsible. I've loved their auto and metallics range used here. Now that the green is cured for a day, I'm then using this silver metal, masked off the sides, and then just doing the sills here. Did 3 coats of that, and it gave a really nice even covering. I used the same colour to do the wheels as well. These decals here go around the headlights. I'm using a bit of Mr. Mark Setter to apply that first, starting with the lower one. One thing that I didn't really like about these decals is that there's a lot of carrier film, which ended up sticking up a little bit above the raised edge. I did use some setting solution as well, but yeah. Treat them carefully when you're doing this yourself. Once the decals had cured, I went over the model with 4 coats of this Kaleido clear gloss varnish, starting with simple mist coats before finishing on a heavier coat. This was left to cure for about 4 days before I went on to polish it. Had a bit of orange peel, but generally it was quite smooth, and I was happy with how hard the clear coat cured to afterwards. I used this 3000 grit sanding sponge to flatten it out before using some polishing compounds. There it is, wet sanded. Need to be careful around the raised edges and decals and things like that. I'm using some Meguiar's Scratch X here. Doing in sections like along the door and the side here first, and being really careful with my Dremel not to lean down too hard or go over any raised edges. Go over that again. It's a good idea to do it section by section, and also to rest in between, as I always find that if I do this tired, I'm more likely to make mistakes. You can see how nicely that has polished up. Really am pleased with this. Look at that roof as well. Let me know what you think, and if you're going to be trying any of these paints yourself. Now, after doing that, I masked around the windows. Some of these had black trims, some of them had chrome. I decided I quite liked how the black trim looked around the edge. Here I'm using some Tamiya curved masking tape. And for these window trims, I'm using Revell Semi-Gloss Black. This is from their acrylic aqua range. Pretty happy with that. Now for the interior. Firstly, this was all painted in matte black. And then there are lots of things to add, like this handle and these little circular sections at the back. There might be speakers, but I'm not sure what they are. This kit only comes left-hand drive. Now for this little stereo section, I picked out the silver details using this Posca paint pen, and then drilled holes to add it into the underside. Some of these things are optional, whether you add them or not. Here's the handbrake. A great feature of this kit are these metallic stickers here. You've got things like these little chrome trims that go around places on the interior, like these ones here. This is a much nicer finish than you'd ever be able to achieve with silver paint. So these are just stickers which push into place with the cotton bud and then remove the backing. Again, there's a few more chrome stickers to go on things. I think this might be an ashtray or something. And you've got this little, I think it's a keyhole or a button or something. And these circles that go around those things. There might be speakers, not sure. There's a gear stick. Did actually forget to add the decal to the top of that, but never mind. Now, whilst these chrome trims on the doors weren't included, I did cut out some thin strips of aluminium tape to add those. And then did the door releases with the silver pen. I cleared up the mistake afterwards. Chairs are done in a kind of matte satin black. Then you've got this window to separate the engine bay. Used a small amount of PVA craft glue to add the window to that. And then the headrests are separate. To attach those behind, like so. Now here's the undercarriage. I painted that in black with some silver detail around the engine. And there's the interior. Got a few pins to put that into the right place. Picked out some of the buttons on the dashboard. And then there's a few clock faces to go on here. Again, the carrier film is a little bit big, so you need to adjust these to get them in the middle as best as possible. Once adding all those instrument faces, it's then time to sandwich the dashboard together. And here it is. Picking out a few little switches with this silver paint pen. And then just like before, you've got these little circular rings. The stickers are actually the same distance apart as they are on the actual dashboard. So you can keep the sticker together and just push them down. Just make sure they're pushed down really firmly. We've got the steering wheel. I think if I was doing this again, I might have replaced the steering wheel with a photo etch part, as I don't think it looks as good. But yeah, you've got a little decal in the middle there. That's painted silver with a bit of black panel liner to pick out the holes. And you've also got a little decal that goes here. All in all though, I'm pretty pleased with how the interior looks, and I think the black goes quite well with the green on the outside. Here's the door cards. There we are. Now you won't see any of this detail, but there are some engine details on this kit. Most of these done in silver or black. And this is the sort of engine cover. You've got some little Lamborghini decals that go on there. Again, you won't see these under the louvers at the back unless you cut it open. There we are, V12. It's important to use super glue on jobs like this because the poly cement won't stick to the chrome parts. Little decals that go on the top of those. Pick out the little screw heads with black as well. Now for the wheels. Poly caps that go on the inside of the housings for the brakes. Found it was difficult to get these the right way round. There are some little slots on the back which fit onto the kind of hubs, so give them a spin until you find the right position. So slot these into the lower suspension part. These little shock absorbers are quite difficult to position, though I did find that you could leave them till later if needed. There's the upper suspension arm, and then if you want you can actually just slot the coils, the shock absorbers, through like so. And there's the other side. And the top. And then you will never see any of that detail ever again. And then just slotting that shock absorber into the right place. Exhaust system kind of clips around either side. You can see the little holes where that goes. That exhaust all clips together quite nicely. And then you've got these wheel arches. I've actually not painted these. I don't think you'll see much of them when the body's all together. They are from the black sprue. I did try and sand them down though, so the mould seams were less visible. Now for the front suspension, you've got these little tubes that go underneath it. Put together the front braking system, a bit like the rear one. Just make sure you get them the right way round. And don't forget the poly cap on the inside. So clip that into place. Obviously no glue on the front ones. Now to do the shock absorber coils, I use this red paint pen. Pretty pleased with that. I've got the little controlling arm, which is a good idea to clip before then adding the brake systems. And then this all gets sandwiched together with this upper layer. And you've got another piece on top of that, which helps get the shock absorbers in the right position. Again, a little Tamiya extra thin, all helps with that. Very nice. Now the wheels came from the chrome tree, however I painted them in that silver paint just like the body. Got slightly narrower front tyres and then making sure you get them the right way round. There we are. Then you've got little knockoffs that go in the middle. Now I'm not sure whether these were moulded wrong or something, but I think they're supposed to have a longer pin on the back, which they didn't really. So I used a decent amount of super glue to attach these. I left the knockoffs in chrome whilst the wheels were in a kind of more flatter silver. And then very gently prise these into place. Don't want to cause any damage at this point. There we are, wheels are on. Now this front grille is in chrome, but it actually all needs to be black. The chrome is just left for the inside of those indicators. So again, I'm using some Revell semi-gloss black to do this. You've got these little door clips, I think they're the keyholes actually, go just behind the door here. Add these now because later on you've got these little louvers to add. These are painted in body colour, then black, and the bottom one is chrome because it's the door handle. There we are. And here's the one on the other side. These are on the chrome sprues, so you could leave the bottom with chrome. This was done in satin black and then glued into place. It actually fits really, really snugly. Just make sure you get the louvers facing the correct way. There we are. Now these headlight housing things go at the bottom underneath. Make sure to paint the inside of the headlight housings black as well. And this section goes here. I think this is the fuel cap actually. There we are. Windows all one piece. There are a couple of pinholes to make sure that's in the correct place. Then I added a small amount of super glue. You want to be really careful with super glue on clear parts. Then you got this kind of central section, and the rear view mirror goes just in front of that. There we are. Now time to prise these all together. I found it was easiest to do the front section first, but then the undersides of the doors need to be widened slightly to fit around the outside of the door cards. There's some little sort of clips to fit the front and the rear of the floor to the bodywork. This was quite difficult, but I got there in the end. Did find that the rear wheels didn't roll, unfortunately, once it was all together, but it did look right. Once that was together, you've got this vent which goes at the back. That actually didn't need any glue. And there's also these chrome exhaust tips. I used a bit of black panel line accent to fill those, make them look like they were hollow later on. These vents go in the front. Used a tiny amount of super glue to attach those. These tail lights were coloured with some red and orange Sharpie, and then I used a bit of PVA to attach them to the chrome surrounds. I added the indicators to this black section at the front, and these went into place without the need of any glue. It was quite tight though, so sand around the edges if it doesn't fit on your one. Got some chrome stickers for the outside now, including this badge section here. And some Lamborghini Miura decals for the back. There are also water slide decals if you don't feel comfortable using these, but I think these look much more professional. It's designed by Bertoni, and that's why you've got the Bertoni B on either side. Here's those tail lights. Used a small amount of super glue to attach these. I found that the holes for the wing mirrors and window wipers needed to be opened slightly wider. These are from the chrome sprue. I then went over the back with a little bit of black Sharpie to make them look like they've got window wiper rubbers. I then added the Lamborghini Bull badge over the top of the chrome badge on the bonnet. And also the little Bertoni text for the sides here. There's the wing mirrors, all from the chrome sprue. Used a small amount of super glue for those, and then a small amount of PVA for these little orange side markers. Now the headlights are made out of several parts. Paint the outside black, then use a small amount of PVA to add the internal lens. That's just round, no up or down with that, just make sure it's the right way around. And then the outer ring, once it has been sanded, make sure that you get the pins all in the right place. I used a small amount of super glue to attach this. And then the headlight lens, once it's been sanded smooth around the edge, make sure there's no burrs. Again, I used a small amount of PVA to slot that into place. Now if you look at the instructions, there is a way to have this either in a raised or lowered position, but I did it in the lowered position, wanted it to look like it's not being used. This needs a bit of firm pressure, but it doesn't need any glue, just be gentle with it. There's a wide range of decals with this kit, some of them being spares and some of them alternatives. The instructions say you don't have to add these little Lamborghini logos to the centre of the wheel knockoffs, but I decided I was going to do that. Again, unfortunately the carrier film is quite big, so you do need to kind of push this into place. I used a bit of Mr. Mark Setter here. I decided to go with just the rear number plate. You're given kind of European and American sort of Japanese style number plates. I went for a single Euro one on the back, done in white with the edges in black and a bit of silver on the light, and then I used this little Lamborghini decal on there. It's a shame that there aren't any road legal number plates. I do quite like making my models look like they've been used, but decided to just go with this rear plate for this time. Could leave it off if you want to, of course. And that just slots into place here on the back. There we are, it's finished. I can really recommend these Kaleido paints. This was the first time I'd ever used them and I'm really pleased with the result. Now for the BOAB score. Value, this gets a 4. You can pick this up for less than £30, which I think is good value. Assembly is also a 4. There was a few fiddly things like around the vents, but generally pretty good. Accuracy is high. I'm going to give this a 4 as well. Quality, also good. 4. And legacy, this being the first real supercar, I'm going to give it a 5. That gives this car a total of 21 out of 25, which is a pretty high score. I can really recommend this kit, and let me know if you've built one, if you agree with my score as well. Remember as well that you can get 10% off your next order with Gaahleri, either that be their airbrushes, paint pens, or their new Kaleido paint range, using the code BUILDING010 at checkout. Thanks very much for watching. Leave a comment down below, hit like, subscribe, it really helps the channel, and I'll see you soon.